Okay, so sit yourself on your left. So it's pretty warm morning, isn't it? So it's warm in here, and let me just open a bit more. It's not as warm outside this morning, but it's really warm in here because it's well insulated. So just get yourself comfortable, hold on to your knees, and then just lift and open your chest. Drive your spine upwards. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that doesn't move. Listening to the sound of the breath. Stilling the eyes in the sockets. Softening the jaw, softening the tongue. And then bring your hands into Namaste. Lengthen from the armpits into the elbows. So lengthen from the armpits into the elbows. Squeeze from the elbows into the heels of the hands. And then close your eyes gently. Listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. Long, slow, deep, deliberate in-breaths, followed by long, slow, deep, deliberate out-breaths. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something, someone, or somewhere. Hold on to that feeling of abundance in your heart area, and then release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Just hold on to your knees, lift and open your chest, drive the spine upwards. Take a good, strong, deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, your shoulders across. And then come back to center lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards, take a good, strong, deep inhalation. And then with an exhalation, turn to the left. and then come back to the center, and then come off your lift. And we're going to go into Adamucha Varasana, but let's all try putting a blanket behind the knees. Now, in Adamucha Varasana, the knees are apart, so it's slightly different to when you use the blanket for Supta Varasana. But just come forward and pull the blanket right into the backs of your knees. Have your knees wide apart and your toes together. And then as you sit back down, get hold of the blanket. You might have to come onto your head to get it right into the back of the knee. And then sit yourself back down so that you get that additional space in the back of the knee. Now, if you try not to clump the blanket up too much, it can make it a bit intense. But sit back on your heels. So there's a number of ways that we kind of benefit from using the blanket. So it gives you space in the knee. Does that feel okay, Ian? Does that feel all right? Yeah. So you can, first of all, you can kind of push the knees away from each other. So yeah, it's warm. So you really activate your knees apart. So as soon as you push try and pull the knees apart when the blanket is there, it really activates the thighs. So lift and open the chest. We've been really focusing on this kind of bimetallic strip action of the front chest. So the front chest rises upwards and the back chest descends. The back chest draws down like a waterfall, especially in the shoulder blade region. Lift the chest and then see if you can maintain connection between the seat bones and the heels as you come forward, maintaining the lift of the front chest as you come forward, keeping the front chest lifted, the back chest descending. Work with the breath. Try and draw the sternum bone towards the floor before your head. Drawing the shoulder blades in towards the front chest. And then bring your forehead down. Breathing evenly. Feeling that you can maintain the lift of the front chest. So long, slow, deep, deliberate breaths. Keep trying to pull the knees apart with the blanket between the two legs. So try and pull the knees apart so that you activate the gluteus muscles. And draw the gluteus muscles, the buttock muscles down towards the heels. And then just sit yourself back up on your heels. And then you can stay in. This may be a little strong for you, but we're going to do a toe balance. So you can keep the blanket there, but you just walk your arms back like we do that kind of Badakanasana variation. But rather than coming kind of back and lifting the seat bones, we're going to lift the knees off the floor. So you balance on the top of the feet. So it's a really good stretch of the tops of the feet. So just see if you can find that toe balance. And then come down. And we'll do that one more time. And this time, if you feel comfortable to, you can stretch your arms forwards towards your knees. And it really is a balance on the tops of the feet. So lift the chest as you balance. And then gently come down so that there's space in the back of your knee. Just come forwards, move the blanket, and then sit back on your heels if you can. And then notice how much more the legs kind of want to sandwich together. So we're just going to go into dog down. So we've really kind of sandwiched the feet together. So now coming into dog down, it's going to be a challenge in the opposite direction. So turn your toes under, have your feet as wide apart as your mat, and then just gently come up into dog down, but don't be in a rush to straighten your legs fully. So after Virasana, that won't want to straighten straight away. Spread your toes, hit the heels outwards. Maintain that lift of the front chest, the descending action of the back chest, the shoulder blade region particularly. So breathe evenly and deeply and slowly begin to straighten your legs fully, pressing the knees through the front of the knee through to the back of the knee so that the back of the knee opens like the iris of a camera. So from the center, opening out to the circumference of the back of the knee. And then step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position. And then align the edge of your feet with the edge of the mat. Use blocks for your hands if you don't go all the way down in Uttanasana. So if you do half Uttanasana, have the blocks that are underneath your hand like this, so you can come forward, just lengthening forward. Otherwise, or you can always use the wall if you prefer. Otherwise, raise your arms, extend your arms up towards the ceiling. Put your thumb into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around the elbow, and then hinge at the hips. But as you come forwards, keep that front chest long. Keep the front chest long as you come down. So using the blocks if you need them, or the wall if you need it. It's whatever you need to support your body. Just hanging down, lifting the legs. Feeling that you're lifting the shins out of the ankle sockets. You're lifting the kneecaps up away from the shins. You're lifting the thigh bone up into the hip socket. Breathe evenly and deeply. So whichever version, half Uttanasana or full Uttanasana, activate your legs. Get your legs to lift upwards out of the floor. Turn the fronts of the thighs inwards so that you can broaden the backs of the thighs outwards. Okay, release your hands down towards the floor. Bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. Just be in Tadasana. Have the feet together, the inner edge of the feet together, the big toes together, the heels together, and then come up into Tadasana. Again, lifting your shins out of the ankle socket, lifting the kneecaps away from the shins, lifting the thigh bones up into the hip socket, stretching the arms down. Breathing evenly into both lungs, evenly out of both lungs. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest, and then step or jump the feet apart, and then turn your left toes in, your right leg and foot all the way out, and then swing the chest to face the front. Spread your toes, especially of this back foot, so that you can bring the outside edge of the heel down, so that the heel presses down and you can push the heel into the floor and lift up into the hip. So from the heel all the way up into the hip, so that back leg feels firm. Turn this leg all the way out. That will make you want to turn your chest this way, but just turn that leg and then turn the chest back to the front. So you turn that leg and it makes you open in the groin better. And then come over, maintaining the strength of that back leg, pushing the heel into the floor, lifting from the heel into the hip of that back leg. Turn your chest up to face the ceiling. Breathe evenly. So turn the chest to face the ceiling, but look down, so that it becomes more about the breath. So you can focus on filling both lungs evenly. Soften the jaw and in the tongue. And then reach up, come back to the center. Just swap your feet around. Turn your right toes in, the left leg and foot all the way out. Again, spread these toes as much as you can. So the more you spread the toes, the more you activate the leg. The more you spread the toes, the more you activate the foot. Press the heel into the floor and then lengthen up into the hip. Turn this leg from the inside out and then draw the chest to face the front. And then come down. Find your shin, but keep that back leg firm. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling, but look down. Just focus on breathing evenly into both lungs, evenly out of both lungs. So continue to turn that front leg from the big toe side to the little toe side. Continue to spread the toes of the back foot, pressing the heel into the floor of that back foot and then lifting from the heel up into the hip. Hip down into the heel. And then come back to the center. Bring your feet parallel and then step or jump your feet back together. Come back into Tadasana. So we haven't done many standing poses at all this week because it's been so hot, so we focus mainly on pranayama. It's not as hot today. So just observe how coming back to standing pose changes your energy. Breathe evenly. Deeply listen to the sound of the breath. So we're going to do Adamucha, so the half moon pose. So you'll need potentially a block on either side so that you can reach it. This is a balance. If your balance doesn't feel like it's good today, then you can do this kind of flat against the wall. So if you do it flat against the wall, rather than jump your feet apart, step your feet apart, because otherwise if you're against the wall, you'll bang your head. So lift and open the chest. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards the chest and then step or jump the feet apart. Just have your hands on your hips for a moment. Turn your left toes in and the right leg and foot all the way out. And then again, charge up that back foot, spreading the toes of that back foot. Lengthen from the hip down into the heel up into the hip. Lift and open the chest and turn this leg outward so that you start to open in the groin. So as you turn this way, you turn this way. And then come down, find the shin. Just breathe evenly and deeply. Working that back leg firmly. Turning the front leg distinctly. Turning the chest up to face the ceiling. Drop your hand on your hip, bend the front leg, and then hop in a little. Bring the block down onto the floor, or if you don't need the block, you can just use the floor. Have your hand on the little toe side of the right foot, about a foot away from your foot. And then try and straighten that back leg before you lift it. Come up and then see, can you straighten the standing leg, maintaining the straightness of that lifted leg. Push from the hip into the heel of that back leg. Turn the thigh and the whole of the standing leg from the big toe side to the little toe side. Turn the chest to face the ceiling. So all the same actions. If you can, you reach up with the top hand. Breathing evenly, deeply, activating the legs and the toes in the way that we were doing just in normal Trikonasana. Okay, bend that standing leg, come back down into a good Trikonasana. And then reach up with the top hand, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump the feet back together. Just use Tadasana to let your breath settle. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump the feet apart. Just release your hands for a second. Turn the right toes in and the left leg and foot all the way out. So it's all those same things that we do at this stage that we bring into both Trikonasana and into Ardha Chandrasana. So it's this spreading of the toes, pushing the heel into the floor, lifting from the heel into the hip down into the heel. And then the more you activate that back leg, the more you can turn this front leg from the big toe side to the little toe side. And then you have to turn the chest back to the center. So this inner groin area opens, comes down into Trikonasana, trying to maintain those actions. Maintaining the strength of the back leg, lifting the chest to face the ceiling, turning this front leg from the inside out. Drop the top hand, bend your leg, hop it in, bring your hand onto the floor or onto the block on the little toe side, and then maintain the straightness of that lifted leg. Straighten the standing leg, turn that standing leg from the inside out. Keep extending from the hip into the heel of the lifted leg. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling. If you can, reach up. Soften the jaw, soften the tongue. And then come down back into a good Trikonasana. Reach up, come back to the center, bring your feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. And then come back into Tadasana. And then just come down onto your back for Supta Badakanasana, just to rest out the spine and open up the hips. So just using this pose just to realign the spine, to open up the hips. Use blocks underneath your thighs if the hips are stiff. So have your hands on your lower ribs, just observe your breath. Breathing evenly into both lungs. Breathe in deeply, listening to the sound of the breath. Lengthen your arms up towards the ceiling. As you do so, try and keep the corner edge of the shoulder blades connected to the floor. Stretch the arms up, spread your fingers. Spread your fingers like you've been spreading your toes. Interlock the fingers right into the webbing of the hands and then turn the palms up to face the ceiling. Before you bring your arms down, spread the palms. Lengthen, rather than pushing the fingers into the backs of the hands, lengthen the fingers towards the opposite wrist. Keep the thumbs in contact with each other. And then spread the palm and squeeze the outer elbows inwards, keeping those corner shoulder blades down. And then lengthen those arms along the floor beyond your head. If there's stiffness in your shoulders, use blocks underneath your hands or a blanket just to support the shoulders. Breathe evenly into both lungs, evenly out of both lungs. Keep the arms actively extending away from the shoulders, away from the head. Lengthening the fingers towards the opposite wrists to really activate the forearms. And then raise your arms up. Just release the interlock of the fingers and do the unnatural interlock so that the other index finger is on the top. Hook the fingers right into the webbing of the hands, lengthening the fingers towards the opposite wrist. Keep the thumbs together and then turn the palms up to face the ceiling, lengthening the fingers towards the wrists. Broaden the palms, squeeze the elbows together. Keep the outside edge of the shoulder blades down on the floor as you lengthen your arms away from the body. Just listen to the sound of the breath. Soften your jaw and your tongue and focus on bringing deep inhalations and deep exhalations. And then release your arms, just release your hands from the interlock, and then rest your hands on your lower ribs. Gently draw your knees towards each other. Have the knees together and the feet apart for a moment, just to release tension from your hips. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on your back. And then rock yourself up into a seated position. So we're going to do a little bit of Viloma Pranayama. We're going to do it in a reclining position. Yesterday we did it upright, but today, because it's still warm, we're going to do it in a reclining position. So get a bolster for your back and bring your feet into Badakanasana. So don't sit too close to the bolster at this stage. Get your blanket and then unfold it so it's a long wide blanket, and then fold that into kind of like that, so it's like a long narrow blanket. Then pull the blanket around the fronts of your shins, and then pull the blanket in between the calves and the thighs, because this will support your thighs, but it will also help you to kind of stay in a decent dog down. Sometimes we tie, not dog down, sorry, it's up to Badakanasana. Sometimes we tie our feet together, but this, so it comes around, so the feet are on the floor, it comes around the fronts of your shins, so between the knees and the feet, and then you draw the ends of the blanket through between your legs, and then just pull on that blanket a little, and then as you come down you can release, but the blanket will help you to just keep your legs in position. It stops them from falling apart. Now you might need something else underneath your head, so maybe a block underneath your head. Just make sure that your lumbar spine feels comfortable. So sometimes some people when they come back into Supta Badakanasana with a bolster, sometimes it pinches in their lumbar spine. So if that's the case, you can always put even just like a folded blanket underneath your seat bones, so you're kind of just raising the buttock bones up a little, so that you're just taking that tension away from the shins, from the lumbar spine. Just spend a few moments just acquainting yourself with the feeling of the pose. So to start off with, we're going to move into Viloma Pranayama in a little while. But to start off with, just work with Ujjayi stage 1. And Ujjayi stage 1 is where we just observe the breath. We become attentive to the breath. So just observe the breath as it enters. Observe how the chest rises upwards and outwards, how the intercostal muscles between the ribs stretch a little in order to accommodate the breath. And as you exhale, observe how the chest lowers and relaxes, and those intercostal muscles relax. So just observe the chest cavity, accommodating the breath. Breathe evenly into both lungs. Exhale evenly out of both lungs. Listen to the sound of the breath. Observe that the in-breath sounds subtly different to the out-breath. So spend a little time with a Apanic breath. So hopefully you've been filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. See if you can draw the in-breath from the perineum up to the collarbone, and the out-breath from the collarbone down to the perineum. Apanic breath. So with Viloma Pranayama, we interrupt the in-breath to start off with, so it's normal exhalations, and we interrupt the in-breath as though we're walking up a ladder and stopping on each rung of the ladder. So if your normal inhalation is 15 seconds, maybe it becomes 30. So you breathe in a little and then you hold. You breathe in a little and then you hold, and you continue in that way until the lungs are full. There should be no strain or tension around the chest, around the shoulders, around the neck, or around the head, or anywhere. It's just a gentle suspension rather than a grip. So a normal in-breath, a normal out-breath, just another normal in-breath, and another normal out-breath. And then let's interrupt the in-breath. Viloma Pranayama, stage 1. And inhaling until the lungs feel full, and then normal exhalation, gentle exhalation, and then continuously cycle. So you hold in just for a second or two, normal exhalations. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. Just normal in breaths, normal out breaths. So stage 2 of Viloma is a normal inhalation and an interrupted exhalation. So what we glean from this practice is just greater oxygen, prana ingestion. We penetrate the breath more deeply and we obtain more energy from it. So normal inhalation, normal exhalation, another normal inhalation, and then let's start interrupting the out breath until the lungs feel empty, and then a normal inhalation. So we're walking down the ladder, working from the top to the bottom. Remember, there's no tension. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. So Viloma Pranayama is a deeply energizing practice. Once the breath has recovered, push your elbows into the floor and then bring yourself up into a seated position. Just pull your knees together, just stretch your legs out. And then just move the bolster out from underneath you. Have a blanket or underneath your head. And you could always have bolster either underneath your knees or on top of your thighs, just to let your legs release. And then just allow yourself to just completely let go and release into the floor. As you stay, observe your energy that rises to the top of the skin. Just distribute that feeling of lightness evenly throughout the limbs, down into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. Basking in the glow of positive energy. And then wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, just to bring yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. And then bend your knees, pull your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side, just a gentle grounding massage. And then gently roll over onto your right side. Stretch out your top leg, come up into a seated position, and then just come into cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Observe the energy that you have created by drawing your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Observe the energy you've created through your practice, through the extensions, through the reclining poses, through the pranayama. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And release release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. And the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you've given yourself a good stretch, but you've really kind of opened up and enlivened your energy. So that's the whole point of doing it. So thank you very much for joining me.